community is seen in different ways by different people. And I know you've seen it from so many different lenses. If there was one community that had the most impact in your journey, in terms of either picking learnings or insights or inspiration on how to do things or how to bring in things in all the different organizations you powered all these years, what is that one community? I know a lot of us diplomatically say, no, there were many, but I'm going to make us say one.
This is so hard. This is the hardest question for an old person who has been a part of many communities. Firstly, what's up, everyone? Thank you for being here and listening to us on your Friday night. So I had a beautiful hand in helping to build communities on the Shirro's platform. Does anybody know Shirro's? It's the ecosystem of women. We were friends back then. So, and I think that part of the reason why it had such an impact on me in terms of how to do things is I picked up some core principles of community from my time at Shirro's. So a little bit of background story is how I came to Shirro's is I was a founder. We were an ex-founder here, former founder in a former life, and I had a platform called Love Doctor. And Love Doctor was a counseling platform for young people to get information about sex and relationships. And this was post Nirbhaya case in Delhi. So I was living in Delhi at that time. This was 2012. And I saw that there was no sex education, no counseling, no availability of information aside from corn, if you know what that means. And but young people were dating, and they were getting into relationships, and they had questions about their bodies, but that information was not readily available. So I built that as a startup. It was, I'm Gujarati, it was pure Tando, didn't have any investment, and that got acquired by Shirro's. That platform got acquired by Shirro's. At that point in time, Shirro's was going through its own transition. It was kind of like a I'm saying this with love, but it was like a forum where a whole bunch of scammers from Oriflame would come and try to spam all the people on the forum. And at that point in time, Shirro's was solely focused on women's employment. Getting women into jobs, getting women who had taken a break back into the employment sector. And so the vision that came from an angel investor that I had started speaking to when I wanted investment, that had put money into Shirro's and was thinking about putting money into Love Doctor was, what if you made the Shirro's ecosystem the internet for women? And that was the big vision. And so going into Shirro's, the idea was that we would populate almost something that was Facebook adjacent. And back then, everyone was on Facebook. I know it's not cool now. Speaking as someone who used to work at Meta, so I can say that. But it was super cool then. Everyone was on Facebook, but hello, have you been women in the room? Have you been on Facebook and seen your DMs? What do they look like? Please friendship, right? It's just like please friendship 9,000 times. So it wasn't safe for us. And so I think the core principles that I took at the scope of work that I had at Shirro's is build out the first 30 communities for women at Shirro's. Train the community managers, build the SOPs, simultaneously build the private one-on-one helpline. So here's what I learned. And here is what Sairi made me do, and this is what I do to this day. First of all, a rolling stone gathers no moss. If you have a community and there's crickets in the community, no one's gonna wanna join. Like if nothing's going on in your community, they're not gonna wanna be there. And it's not just about events, it's about conversation, it's about depth. It's about knowing that if I put a query here, or if I put myself here, if I spend my time here, and I want you guys to understand that that barrier to entry for somebody participating in a digital community even is very high, especially for marginalized communities, for women, from people from tier 2 and tier 3 cities all over India. So that's what we discovered. So for the first 6 weeks, in the 5 communities that we launched, my team and I put up 100 pieces of content a day in the communities. We approximated people asking questions, we put up content pieces, we ask questions. We would answer our own questions too. So like Santosh was in the community, like I would just like pretend to be somebody posting that he would answer and we'd be on the same team. But after that 6 weeks, something miraculous started happening and people started doing it themselves. So we had to show people how to behave. We had to show people that this space was active, it was there for them, and what you do in that space. To this day, I do not start any community without getting involved like that, even if I have to do it myself. So I feel like that was like core principle number one, and it left this like indelible mark on me. Nobody wants to join something that's boring. Nobody wants to join something that's not active, right? So I don't know, Ghost Apps, did you like plant a traveler in your common areas to start talking to people?
We get volunteers.
Exactly. So like same principle is that you always have somebody there to kick off the conversation and the momentum. I think that the second like core community principle that I learned was, and I'll keep it short, I'll wrap up after this, is like Owen said, nobody does community the same. So there were like these standardized SOPs, we had playbooks and everything, but each one of my community managers did community in a different way. They had to be given the leeway to operate it differently in the writing community, in the love and relationships community, in the health community, in all of the local language communities. They had to have that freedom to create the flavor of the community because it was important to the niche of people that were there. So I think that while in order to scale, we have a tendency to want to build playbooks, right? How many of us get really excited when we hear the word playbook? I love playbooks. But the ADHD brain in me also says that there needs to be absolute creativity for the people that are stewarding the community. They need to have ownership, feel the agency to be able to be creative, because that's when the community takes off. And underlying that learning is this: if you don't like what you're doing and you're doing community and you don't get energy from it, the community knows. They can feel it. They feel it if you don't like it. They feel it if it's irritating for you. They feel it if you're forcing it. And so that was a big lesson in you need to have the right people in these types of positions so that things can roll. And then that second principle of make sure it's rolling from day one so that people come in and immediately can plug in is like something that I 100% operate like this even to this day with everything that I do since then. That was a long time. That was 10 years ago.
It's a lot that's happened.
You must have done some experimentation, right? How did it start and what was it that really clicked? Like on the women's platform specifically?
Yeah. You have some skin in the game here too, so I'll pass the mic over to you. I think two things. One is never an empty space for a woman. And there's a principle that I understand from my time in a former life when I used to be a startup person and I used to run startup weekends, right? So if you guys have heard of this event, Startup Weekend, it's like kind of like this room here. You get a whole bunch of people like us in a room, and in 42 hours you build something together and you prototype and get to an MVP. So around the world, Startup Weekend was having a problem getting women to their events. And I was like a facilitator, and then later on I came on to be like their India person trying to build the community here. And one thing I learned is, so let's say that like we're building a space for women, and the space for women is right here in front of Santosh, okay? But all of the women are over here because they don't know about your space yet. And you are trying to get them to come from here to here. So the principle that I learned is there is a space before the space. And that is a core principle I take with me to this day. I will never go in cold to any room full of anyone that I'm trying to get into a room where nobody looks like them and say, oh, please come. We will give you samosas. It will be great, because it's freaking scary for them to step out of their comfort zone to come into this new space. So you have to create the third space, the space before the space. So the first thing I would do is I would go to them, always. I would go to their events. I would go talk to them personally, one-on-one. I would make these connections. So it was more like a partnerships role. And then I let them trust me. Then I started showing up at their events. And then I would do a gentle plug for Startup Weekend once that relationship was built. Then we launched boot camps. So that was an experiment in saying it doesn't feel safe for somebody to commit to this 42 hours of events. Let's do these mini boot camps that are just 4 or 5 hours long so people get a flavor for what that's like. And the boot camps for Startup Weekend and for Techstars came up because of that. We did that in India first. And that test taught us that if we can create a good environment in the space before the space, then they'll readily come to Startup Weekends, and they'll readily come. So I think like that's a big learning for me, especially for women, is that, and I think for anybody who is a non-majority that you're trying to get in, right? And all of us are like, oh, DEI, and we want diverse spaces, and we want to reach out to X, Y, or Z that doesn't look like our main persona profile. So in order to get those people into the room to feel safe, and it's all about psychological safety, whether you're selling widgets or an AI agent or you're running a hostel or whatever, people need to come and they need to feel like I belong. So when you do that pathway, you reduce the friction in people saying to themselves, I belong here. So that's like, I'm happy, my brain is filled with these types of things, but that's one thing I would share.
I'd say it's been more than a decade of knowing both of you. And of course, I've started interacting with you more often in the last 4 or 5 years. Maybe a decade with Santosh. But there's so much that I take from every single conversation we've had. But more than anything, passion is one, but their obsession with people in terms of adding value and impact is what you can really take home when you get in from one conversation with both of them, right? So if you guys ever get a chance, definitely do that. 1 hour with both of them. Ask their stories, ask questions. If you remember, a bunch of us had gone we did a community leaders offsite where 20 of us decided to spend a day in Devnali. And that allowed each of us to hear stories from each of us. And that's when I got to know so much about the work Avani's been doing across so many different spectrums, right? So thanks a lot. I think when we break, I'm going to have one more person join us now and share some insights. But post that, catch hold of both